Hello, I'm Julian Lucas, founder of the Pomonin, and joining us today is Carolyn Jiyoung Park. Um, Jiyoung is a daughter of Korean immigrants and was born and raised in Los Angeles. She obtained a BA at Tulane University in New Orleans and a JD at Loyola Law School in Los Angeles. Uh, Ji Young has been an active attorney practicing law for 18 years. She has worked for over 6 years at a public sector union as staff attorney, litigating cases on behalf of the union and union members before the state personnel board, public employee relations board, office of administration hearings, and in civil court. She represented union members in arbitration and in collective bargaining. Ji Young currently has a private general practice which handles civil rights, labor, tenant, and social impact business matters. As a Silver Lake Neighborhood Council Governing Board member, she led an initiative to establish the food scrap drop-off site for composting at local farmers markets. She is a liaison to the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance. In her free time, Ji Young likes to ride her bike, practice yoga, shop at farmers markets, cook, and eat. She appreciates music, art, and comedy. She seeks out adventure and enjoys backpacking, hiking, and travel. Welcome, Ji Young.
Thank
I
you
don't know
so
how you
much, Julian. I appreciate that
how do
intro.
you do all of this, and there's only 24 hours in a day.
Well, right now there's not much else happening other than campaigning, honestly. But yeah. I yeah, I you know, I prioritize um getting getting into things. I like it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you're running for judge.
I am.
Um, so let's unpack this. what what's why are you running for judge?
So I was asked to run for judge. I'm running on a group of other attorneys. We're called the Defenders of Justice. It's three public defenders and myself. And um, one of them, Holly Hancock, she ran before in 2018. She didn't even use her title as a public defender that time. She just said attorney at law or something like that. She didn't use the title of public defender because in the past, voters have wanted to, the ones that actually vote in the judge elections, they have wanted to elect the most hardcore prosecutor. So, um, you know, they used to be able to, the deputy district attorneys, the prosecutors used to be able to use ballot designations, meaning the title that were like hardcore gang unit prosecutor or something like that,
Right,
something to that
right,
effect.
right.
Um, and um, and they can't do that anymore. It has to be deputy district attorney, county of Los Angeles, or something to that effect, something more generic. Um, so when she ran that time, she came very close, but didn't win. And she is very intent on becoming judge to be able to have some balance in terms of perspectives on the court, and not just having prosecutors. So she decided to run again, and then this group called La Defensa, which is co-founded by LA City Council member elect Onisis Hernandez, um, they met with her and um, asked, "How can we support you?" And she said that it was very lonely running as like one of the few public defenders in that race. And then um, and then from that came this idea of having a slate of judges, a group of judges running together. So then they put together the three public defenders. They wanted to round it out with a fourth attorney. Um, and then that's where I came in. And, to be honest, I didn't think that I never thought of being a judge or running for judge before because I knew that it's mostly prosecutors who run and win in these elections.
Okay.
And to be clear, that is absolutely the case. 80% of the judges um, who have been elected in LA County have been prosecutors. The
Oh wow.
rest have been, yeah, the rest have been something like, commissioners or administrative law judges.
Oh
Um,
wow. That's really
yeah.
interesting.
So there are very, very few people who have been judicial candidates who have been elected who actually work with community members day in and day out. And that is not what prosecutors do. A prosecutor's job is to put a defendant in jail for as long as possible. That is their job day in and day out. And whereas, public defenders work with the actual defendants, people who can't afford a lawyer and are, accused of a crime. In my case, I work directly with working people, directly, with with people who have been um, arrested for exercising their rights, tenants, unaccompanied minors, and that kind of perspective that is informed by working with and representing regular people is very important to making informed decisions with the context of what's going on in our larger society
Right.
when applying the law.
Right. So that leads me to the next. Um, well, with the tough on crime, we've had the three strikes law, and I've worked corrections in Oregon. I work LA County probation here and youth authority up north. And up there they had Measure 11, which is similar, but a little different. So with the three strikes law, how would you, I guess, be able to maneuver through? I know some things have changed in like 2011 or 12 or something like that with three strikes, but as a judge, how would you be able to maneuver through that type of law?
So I just want to provide some general information about these
Okay.
judge races. So um if we're I don't want to say if, when we're elected as judges, we can be assigned to any of the 9 different kinds of
Uh,
courts in the
okay.
LA Superior Court system. So there are and we can be assigned anywhere in the county. And the county spans from Long Beach to Pomona to Antelope Valley, Santa
Okay.
Clarita, Santa Monica, Venice, and everything in between. And then the types of courts that exist are criminal, civil, juvenile, family, probate, small claims, traffic, mental health courts, and appellate courts. Um, I believe all of the other candidates running in the judicial races in LA County in this November election are criminal lawyers. I think I'm the only one who is not a criminal lawyer.
Got it. Okay.
And given how many candidates are criminal lawyers, it is highly, highly unlikely that I would be assigned to a criminal court, in my opinion. And especially a court where they're handling three strikes law cases. That said, judges do have discretion in terms of sentencing, and but judges do have to apply the existing laws. What I will say is that studies show that prosecutors tend to over sentence.
Okay.
Judges who have been prosecutors tend to
Right.
over sentence.
Yeah.
Also, a 2021 study found that judges with a prosecutor background are 56% less likely to decide in favor of a worker in an employment case than a judge with a non-prosecutor background. So prosecutorial bias on the part of people whose careers are as a prosecutor, that is documented, and the data shows that there is prosecutorial bias. And so that is why it is so important to have different kinds of attorneys with or judges with different legal backgrounds, because prosecutors tend to see the people in the courtroom as, and this is a term that they literally use to refer to defendants as bodies. Instead of as human beings with lives, with families,
Right.
who are a part of the fabric of a community. So
That's funny you say that.
yeah.
In the jails, the guards are referred to as bodies. So when they call for overtime, I need a body. I need a body to go to whatever unit. So that's funny you say that.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think I read a study that there was 61% male or 60 that are judges, and there's very little.
Yes. So 38% of the judges in LA County are women. So that means that 62% are men. So even in terms of gender, we're women are way behind in terms of having, representation on the bench. But we all know that just being a woman is not going to mean that we necessarily have fair outcomes. In fact, all four of the opponents of the defenders justice candidates are women. interestingly enough.
Nice.
And they're
Yeah.
all prosecutors. So it's not
Oh,
enough. Yeah. So it's
they're all
not an
prosecutors.
yes. So it's not enough that you're a woman, in my opinion, in terms of like balancing out having balance on a bench. You also, you need gender representation. You need
Right.
um representation of
Right.
various racial
Right.
ethnic groups.
Absolutely.
You need representation in terms of so many things, sexual orientation, all that kind of stuff. But
Absolutely.
you really, the the people of LA County, in my opinion, really need uh diversity of legal background,
Yeah.
and and judges with values
Mhm.
that are aligned with the majority of Angelenos.
Right. Yeah. Do you think, um, because the jobs of prosecutors are to prosecute and send people to prison, do you feel that prosecutors, um, I guess, can be progressive in prosecuting, or do you feel like there can be some type of collaboration between um, prosecutors and defending attorneys that are progressive, I guess?
I think that is absolutely possible. Um, but I will say that, you know, that that kind of um that kind of mindset on the part of prosec prosecutors, um, that's not the prevalent mindset within
Yeah.
DA's offices.
Right.
So there is a group called the Prosecutors Alliance that um, promotes um, progressivism within prosecutors' offices.
I see.
So I actually went on a visit to the Lancaster State Prison, um, and it was organized by Smart Justice, Prosecutors Alliance, and the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. And we spoke with people, inmates, I think many, if not all of whom are serving life without parole sentences, and
Wow.
um, and and um, most, if not all of them, are participating in um, a restorative justice program. And there were prosecutors who were also on this visit, and I think it's absolutely possible. There are even DAs who are running across the country who don't believe that, you know, just incarcerating people is the answer to public safety.
Right.
And I think many of us know who some of them are, but um, you know, I think it's absolutely possible. But like I said, it's not the prevalent kind of
Mhm.
attitude and disposition of most prosecutors.
Right. Um, so quickly, my time's going to end. Um, um, so
Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, um, the responsibility. So, do you feel like the DA who has responsibility to incarcerate Well, no, let's go back to, so LA, we should all know LA is the largest jail system in the world, right?
Mhm.
Um, do you feel that LA is moving towards more restorative justice, or is it still kind of stuck in this tough on crime? I guess because I mean I remember LA in the '90s growing up, and it was, you know, constant. People were constantly in court, and you go to court, the lines are just outrageously outside the door.
I think, well, first of all, I think that um, people use alternatives to incarceration, the phrases alternatives to incarceration and restorative justice interchangeably. But true restorative justice, it it's a process by which um, the the victim of the harm and the harm doer um, communicate um, and try to come to a resolution that is agreeable to both parties. And that doesn't mean that it always ends up with, you know, the highest the most harshest jail sentence. It can also mean, um, you know, that a shorter sentence, um, or time served, or no sentence at all. It really
Right.
depends on the parties who are participating in the process. Now, when it comes to alternatives to incarceration, there is so much noise in the media, and
Right.
on Nextdoor. We talked about
Uh,
Nextdoor before.
uh,
There's so many people who make so much noise about, incarcerating people who steal groceries from somebody's front porch,
Port.
you
Yep.
know, like
Yep.
that is not fiscally or morally responsible. Like,
Right.
it costs over $106,000 per inmate per year, and
Yes.
that was pre-inflation. So that
Right.
number must have gone up by now.
Right.
There's no It doesn't make sense
Right.
to jail somebody for
Right.
$106,000 per year,
Right.
for stealing groceries. You know what I mean? So when I've spoken to so many people, and the thing about my campaign and the Defenders of Justice's campaign, is that we actually talk to the people in the community, and when when I talk to people and really dig down, when I have the opportunity to really dig down about what they want, I can tell you most of the people, and even the polls show and studies show, that most people want people with mental health issues to be connected with mental health services. Most
Right.
people want people with who are using
Right. Right.
substances to be connected with
Right.
harm reduction and substance or drug rehabilitation,
Right.
if they want it. So that is what most people want. um
Right.
and and um and that is honestly much of what abolition is about. I
Yes.
mean, if so
Yeah. It's
I
about
think
making people
that
better.
I think that people use these kinds of labels to be divisive, and to like sell certain agendas, but I find that at the end of the day, most people want the same thing, and most
Yeah.
people want to, everyone wants to be safe, you know what I mean?
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I think most people want solutions that actually make sense
Yeah.
and respect the dignity of other human beings.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule, um, and talking with me.
Sure. Thank you for
So
having me.
yes, of course, of course. And then maybe we can um, have your slate on, and we can all talk about the court system. And
I would love that.
yes,
I just want to add one thing. So when you asked
sure,
me about the three strikes law, so I did say that judges have to apply the existing law. So
right,
you know, they're judges are just a piece of the puzzle. Because we have to apply the existing law, it is really important for people to also, for LA County voters to also elect um, policymakers,
right,
you know, whether it's state council members or assembly members or senators, leaders who will pass the laws that make sense.
yes,
So it's important for to have the right policies and laws, and then to have the judges who will be willing to apply those laws and understand those laws and apply those laws fairly. So I just wanted to add that.
thank you so much. Appreciate you. It's gonna cut
Appreciate
out.
you. All right. Thank you so much.